Okay, so if you can hear me over the background music system, we've got on Mr. Chippy's bench, we have a I'll start again, WYE radiogram. We've made in Brimington, Chesterfield, and I was, one of the first organs I worked on as an apprentice was at Brimington Parish Church. And we'd taken a redundant organ from a closed chapel. It was Congregational Chapel, Norton Street, Basford, Nottingham. We took it out of that chapel, did an overhaul. It was pneumatic action. I think it's now an electric action. And we installed it in Brimington Church. Whilst cutting the leather, which was being renewed on the back of the keys, I cut off 2 fingertips. And strangely enough, they grew back again. Glad I work as a church organist and not an axe murderer. They might not have grown back. So it doesn't often you grow back new fingertips or anything else you chop off in life, but it happened to me, and so Brimington is there. And as I queued for the bus, there'd be 20 or 30 women who worked at Wye Electronics, and I've therefore had a soft spot for Wye products. I think they're probably a bit of an also round. You remember we used to run a shop in Yorkshire and we did HMV, and I've got videos on overhauling HMV Stereomaster radiograms. Only the Stereomaster ones are the only ones I'm interested in. But we don't normally do anything else. Well, this gentleman contacted me, got a Wye radiogram that he's bought. He wants it to work properly. I think the turntable works, but we'll do that anyway. But I think it's down on one channel, which is going to be capacitors. So I've taken the bottom off, and it's come with the original instruction book, which is pretty useless. I've got no service information. I've looked it up. I don't have any service information. But if I remember rightly, these rely on something like a TBA810 audio chip. So there's not going to be much to it. And if I remember rightly, the radio relies on modules. As I understand it, the radio doesn't work on this. That might not be restorable because it'll be down to modules. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift up the lid and we'll get the chassis out. Now, as I've said, we're doing 1 CB radio per week. We're concentrating for the next 19,000 hours on the organ restoration in the new private chapel here, and that's the absolute priority. But I've had to take time out from that. I didn't want to say no to the customer. He obviously wants this sorting, and although we do these videos as a tutorial to encourage people to do them themselves, he's brought this in, and so we're going to get on with it, and it has to be done pretty pronto because Mr. Chippy does his guitar amplifier repairs on this bench, and so that's now putting a spanner in his works. So without any further ado, let's open it up. So it's what you expect. We've got a BSR turntable, which is a watt. Does it say? It's come with the instructions. It's the plastic turntable, cheaper one that we don't see on the Stereomasters. But we normally would do this first. We're going to do the electronics first in case there's something which is a snag. On-off volume, balance, treble, bass, tape, disc, VHF, medium, long wave, and automatic frequency control and tuning. So we're going to have to take the chassis out. That's where it's all going to start. So I'll get the thing on its side, and I may as well scan that while we've got a copy, but it's pretty rubbish. I said to the customer, why didn't you lock down the mechanism to transport it? He said, well, I'm new to this. I've never, that's not normal. It says until both transit screws have been screwed fully clockwise, but then he wouldn't know, if he's new to it, that has to be reversed for transportation. So I'd hate to align it and then he doesn't do that on the way back, and then it's all out of alignment. Anyway, we'll get it on its side. So I haven't got the foggiest how the chassis comes out, but I took the knobs off, which enables the escutcheon, the bit with the print on, to come off the front panel. And it looks to me like we're left with 4BA nuts. Except it's now stuck in my nut runner. yes, it comes out from the front. We'll just close that, see how we release. It's on plugs and sockets, but they're going to be a swine to get to. So I think we're going to have to unscrew the back panel where the mains lead goes through and the 5-pin DIN for the tape in and out. Of course, that tape socket can be used for any auxiliary input or output, so you can record from it or play back to it. So it's all guesswork. So that's released the bundle of wires there. So we're held now by the turntable. Let's just move this around. The speakers plug in there, and the turntable plugs in where? Perhaps you can pull it out enough to you can't. I'll pause the video while I find a way of getting the chassis out. What I've done now is to take the power supply, which is a very basic dirty DC thing, just a bridge rectifier, transformer and a capacitor which we'll be changing. I've unsoldered the turntable mains from there and there, and I've unsoldered the pickup into the chassis. So hopefully, because the only snag now is we're stuck by the mains plug. To be honest, the mains plug needs changing anyway, because that type isn't really going to be legal anymore because it's not got the shrouded pins. But I would like to do things first without having taken that off. So now we've got a problem that this is all wrapped round the speakers. Yeah, that's been put in at a different stage. How frustrating. So we're going to have to unsolder the big capacitor. You know, we're not. We're going to cut the wires off that. So now that hopefully will go round there, which means that all this can go out through the front. So there's the chassis. And that's what we're left with. So we've just got the mains lead now captive for the reason I said. I'm not going to try it. What we're going to do, we'll change that capacitor because there'll be a hum at this age. And what is it? 10,000 microfarads at 25 volts. You don't often see one that high. This will probably be the same amplifier module as they used in their record player, which they did with the Reader's Digest badge on it, which is a nice record player, basic but nice. And these are SN76023 Texas Instrument audio ICs, which I seem to recall are 2 watts per channel. In a mono form, they are sold. They were in a mono form. They're often used in television sets, and those of you who can remember 1974 will remember the Pi 697, well, the 691, the 693, and 697 television sets, colour television sets, which were a hybrid set, and they had this IC, obviously mono, amplifier module in them, and so it was solid state sound. So when you switch those televisions on, I think it was the first television other than the Thorn 3000 that came on straight away as far as the sound was. You didn't miss all your program while it warmed up. So then we'll have a look at what we're going to do with these. We are going to have to cut that plug off, aren't we? We really are, because I don't want that on the bench. So pause the video, and that's what we're going to have to do. Okay, so this is what we're left with. So we know we're going to change that capacitor. We've got 2 capacitors there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the amplifier, and we'll see what we can change immediately and what we'll have to order, because this needs to be out of here as quickly as possible. So I didn't promise him anything on the tuner because I knew it was going to work on modules, and these modules tend to have no germanium transistors within them. So I don't know. Let's have a look. $470 at 16 volts. Better make a list, otherwise I'll forget to charge him for most of this. So the 2 there are 470 at 16 volts. So we're putting Nikon in because we've got them at 25 volts, and the one there, which, oh yes, it's leaking its muck out there. That's 47 at 25, and what have we got here? 47 at 35. I've loosened those 4, and then we'll delve into what they are. Wonder where my reel of solder always goes. Mr. Chippy's bench. So we'll do a few more of these and then come back to the video. Okay, so I've changed all the capacitors on both the boards. So we had 220 at 10 volts there, which I've changed for a higher voltage. These are all Nikon, they're all 105 volt, 105 degree rated, and all the voltages have been improved upon. So we've got 4.7 and 4.7 there, 2.2 and 2.2 there, 2 sneaky little ones under the fins of the ICs there were 4.7. We've got the 2 there which are 470, and the 1 there that was 47. So what we're just going to do is check the diameter of this. Because I want it to, whatever we get, it's 35mm, we want it to fit in the clip. I'm sure we can do that very easily. So I'll order one of those and hopefully it'll turn up tomorrow. But DHL have a good RS delivered from through DHL, and DHL have a good thing about not being able to find me. So at the moment it's 10,000 at 25 volts. So we want that diameter, that's what we're looking for. So we'll pause the camera once again. Okay, so we're in a position, I've temporarily put a mains plug on it. I've temporarily soldered the wires on the original capacitor here because I've just ordered a replacement, and hopefully that'll come tomorrow. But as I say, RS have changed from parcel force to DHL, and it seems to have not been as good since. So we don't know that the radio works, but then the customer might not know that you have to plug an aerial in for FM. So as a bit of an aerial, we will put a little crocodile clip lead onto that and onto our reel of solder. We're a terrible reception area, but it would prove whether we've got something happening or not. So this is the moment of truth. I will just select VHF, make sure we haven't got AFC on. Right, the aero switch on. I've got connected to speakers through crocodile clips to the ones under the bench. So we'll put the mains on. We've had a switch on thump. That's good. The other thing we can do, if actually I think we'll select disc, which is the second one along. And the volume is, just make sure our balance is somewhere in the middle. I've got a bit of a hum, which is great. Where's the input? There was nothing on the other channel. We've got good amount on there. With nothing on the other channel. So let's go to the tape input, see whether we can prod that. I could put an audio generator on, but I'm trying to get this in and out quickly. So which is left and which is right? Plenty of gain there. Now put the balance control back to the other side. Balance control to the middle. No, we've got nothing on one channel. But of course the Duff capacitors can kill the chips, can't they? This is what we're up against. So we've got some warmth on that one, and we've got no warmth whatsoever on the other chip. So I think we've got a problem there. Okay, so what we'll now do is we'll wrap this video up. This is our part one. So the radio tuners don't appear to work, and there may be nothing I can do with that because they are modules, and I think within those modules are germanium transistors which are kind of embedded in there. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours taking them apart and then making it worse. So we'll look into that when the amplifier's working properly. So we're down on one channel. I've just ordered 2 of those chips because there's no point just changing one, we're going to end up with a mismatch. So parts on order, we've got the big capacitor on order, we've got the 2 chips on order, and at least his record player should be back, and then we can look into whether the radio part of that is any hope whatsoever. I've experience of the stereo sound products, which are kind of similar, and made in Backley in Yorkshire, and also known as Ambassador for their upper brand products. They did posh cabinets for the Ambassador ones and more ordinary cabinets for the stereo sound ones, and I've found a lot of time the radio tuners are no good because of them being in modules. So whereas we're used to the HMV stereo masters, where if the transistor goes down we can actually replace it, we are stuck with modules. So, and it's alright buying another 10 of these, you'll find that the same fault is on every one of them. So I would think that the microchip's being killed by duff capacitors, so we've changed all the capacitors, so when the new chips come, I don't think there's going to be any problem whatsoever with that. So we'll wrap up part 1, and part 2 hopefully we'll see this working on the bench, and then we'll get it back in, overhaul the turntable, and Bob's your uncle, as you say. So thank you for watching the Wye Radiogram. Does it have a model number? It does. 617, 615, 608, 619 and 620. Does it have a model number on the actual product as he kicks the camcorder? Oh no. Made in the United Kingdom by Wye Electronics is all we see, and the bottom is totally plain. No, that's it. Thanks very much. Catch you on the next video.